a very important victory, especially after the week we had last week. Never ever going to be easy against a side as gifted, as as talented as this DC group are. I think they've done a fabulous job this year of adding some very, very good players to that group. But the first half was purely ours. And the energy, the desire and the drive of the group put us in a very, very good position. Even from the moment that Randall scores that was offside, there was a feel about that opening exchange that bode well for the rest of that first period. Wayne made some changes in the second half that proved to be far more challenging for the group, and I thought DC started the second half much the better. But what we've been able to do is dig in and when times are not going as well as we would like, we've made life difficult. What I must say is the game obviously shifted massively on the sending off, and I'm sure somebody will ask me about that in a moment.
Thank you, Coach. We have family faces in the room, so please introduce yourself with name and outlet. If you have questions for Coach, go ahead.
Well, let's start with the red card. Any comments on that?
Probably too many, and the fact that we've been able to navigate those final 25 minutes, keep a clean sheet and win the game, obviously takes a lot of emotion out of what went on. I would have to question very much so both bookings. The first one that we saw on the big screen, Walker makes contact with the ball. Yes, there is some contact with the player, a foul. How it's a booking, I have no idea. The second one was abominable. It truly was. It's such a very, very poor decision at that point, especially as he's on a booking, and maybe the referee didn't think it was a bad decision, the first one. But I would have expected, and I expressed my feelings to the fourth, if he says to Walker at that point, look, there's going to be no other challenges, you're going off, then I think maybe that's the final warning that you have. But given the scenario, I have no idea how he finds a sending off out of either of those two challenges. No idea.
And one more. In terms of that last 25 minutes, you talked about it. For me, I saw Nashville play in a way that I maybe haven't noticed before in terms of keeping the ball, playing passes, being more confident on the ball. Has anything changed that have allowed your team to play in that way, even down a man?
Honestly, I think it's experience, the positions that you get in. The group have travelled, a path now together, a large amount of those players. They've experienced adversity before. Not too many occasions, if I remember rightly, having had a player sent off. But I do think that we're showing far more composure and professionalism about our performances. As I said, the first half saw us now win the game. The second half saw us manage the game in a way that was necessary, whether it was prior to the sending off with DC getting on top a little bit. I thought we showed some good character and a great structural awareness of putting a bit of a blunt edge to their attacks. After the sending off, I've just said to the guys, I thought we showed all the character and all the spirit that we've seen maybe in previous years when we've not had as many attacking moments and success at home even. But that roll your sleeves up and find a way to get through the remainder of the game, and to your point, some passages of play that are also very, very important to navigate those final moments.
Yeah, Coach, congratulations on the win, 6th straight at home. You had your success at home, but you've not had as much success on the road. How do you find that balance after a week like last week where you struggled on the road, losing 2 straight, coming home, getting that victory, but it started from the jump where you had, it seemed like you jolt with the back line and with your forward group just putting the pressure on. How do you find that balance coming home?
Well, look, I've got to say, first of all, last week was a particularly tough week. 3 games in a week, it's not happened too often. And of course, with multiple players missing for different reasons, without 3 of our mainline strikers in Teal, Fafa and Jacob, certainly for the last game. So there were some serious challenges last week. And I think coming back here was really the tonic that everyone needed. We've done well here. We've played with a lot of desire and passion. And I think that's a combination of a couple of things. We've had some joy. We're on a good run. The atmosphere is fantastic. And there's no two ways about it. You know, the supporters and the fans here have done a wonderful job of really galvanising the group and making this place a very, very tough environment to play in now. And what comes with that is that energy, you know, that flows out of the group. And from the very outset, you know, we jumped on top of a good side. And they found it difficult to play their game, which was vitally important. Consequently, there were some changes made in their group because the first half for them was not a good one. The changes made a lot of difference. But, you know, in the end, I think we'd certainly shown that first 45 minutes was more than good enough to win the game.
So, Coach, you know, in regards to Randall's performance tonight, starting off the season with a lower body injury, and eventually going on in the second half a few times in the season, 30 minutes, now starting while you have a few players on international duty. How vital is it to get the production you got out of Randall tonight in regards to kind of transitioning later on into the season?
Absolutely huge. There's no other way to really describe it. We needed somebody to step forward tonight. On most occasions, it has been Hanny, and he's been our talisman, if you like. We needed somebody else to jump out of the pack and say, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck, and Randall absolutely did that. Last week was his first real, genuine week of football coming back from what has been an extended layoff, if you like, from his hamstring problem. The game here, if I remember rightly, against St. Louis was a tough one for everyone. And he came off at half-time, which in many ways enabled me and the medical group to get him ready for what came next. And there was some good football played in those Montreal and Columbus games, but certainly not through different circumstances. The Randall that we know and, of course, have grown to be very, very fond of. Today was exactly what we needed, what he needed, what we needed, a match-winning performance. And for me, man of the match for sure.
We are going to transition to the Zoom. Drake here with the tennis game.
Hey, Gary, you mentioned on Thursday how during this time, World Cup guys are out, that this was going to need to be a reinvigorating, moment in a series of weeks for the group, and that it may need to be a little bit of the old Nashville to come in. How do you think that the group responded to those things that you've been talking about with the group, first and foremost? And secondly, how do you think Walker's battle with Benteke was tonight?
Well, to answer the first question, Drake, I thought the guys absolutely stepped up to the plate. There will have been one or two, I'm sure, doubts in the back of people's minds, having not scored in our last 2 games. Circumstances aside, you get beat. It has an effect on the group. And I definitely looked and thought maybe we've lost a little bit of momentum here, which is a real shame given the way that we've been playing. But the guys that went out there, Teal, Randall, Hanny, I thought did a fabulous job in that front line of really setting the tone from the outset, getting some pressure on, getting the rest of the guys up the field. And that was a catalyst for the rest of the group. There were some fantastic performances. There were some real genuine displays and great character, especially at the last 25 minutes. As far as Walker's battle with Benteke, it's not just Walker-Benteke, it's Jack Walker and even Lucas now, obviously. Benteke's a very, very good player, let's make no mistake. And I think what all of the centre-halves will look at will be certainly in some of the mid-third areas of our half. He won some important challenges. But what was important when the ball went into the danger zones, from the crosses late on, early in the game from dead balls, I thought the guys did a wonderful job, the three we've mentioned, and certainly others. And that's just as important against a side that not only have a focal point like Benteke, but you look at individuals like Pines and Williams and Heinz Ike who are out there. They're very, very good in the air. And I haven't seen the stats. Maybe I should have done on the crosses that went in the box. But I bet DC stats are as high as anyone, working towards what is a very valuable piece of their armoury, which is a big centre forward.
We are going to transition to Claudio Villalobos. Claudio?
Gary, not that you ever lacked any type of confidence on what Randall Leal can do, but of course you, the team, the fans, everybody was expecting him to come back to this type of form sooner or later. How much of that confidence gets built up even higher on you as a coach of Randall's skills and what he brings to the team after his performance tonight?
Well, I think, like I've said there, Claudio, you know, there's a high expectation on Randall's shoulders. He's been very, very good for us. He's been a catalyst for a lot of things we do creatively. Yes, I do think him and Hanny are very different, but they play in a similar sphere, which is that creative, aggressive, threatening sphere for the group. And to be perfectly honest, we've had a couple of guys in his absence who have stepped up and done very well for the group in Fafa and Jacob. So there's always going to be a comparison or a bit of pressure. And to be perfectly honest, I think most high caliber players want that pressure. They want the very best drawn out of them. And there's no doubt in my mind, I've not spoken to Randall about last week. I thought we all had a really tough time, not just Randall. I thought the group in general had a really difficult couple of games. It wasn't easy last week, emotionally or physically. But it is those very high caliber players that are capable of stepping out of the gloom and the darkness that sometimes falls upon a team, albeit in small doses for us, certainly last week. And they can produce a display like that. You know, the first goal, there was still plenty to do. Thought we took it exceptionally well. The second one, a little bit fortunate, but you've got to be there. All the top players are in the right place at the right time. And what we do know is that Randall can strike a ball ever so well. And he's a different finisher to guys like, you know, maybe even Jacob or Hanny. But the power he gets on it shifts, you know, the ball in the air and makes life incredibly difficult for Miller. A wonderful display. Honestly, in the end, it's the sending off that brings me to a choice and a decision. And in many ways, given the way that the referee was going about his business, I thought that Randall might have been the next candidate for a sending off. Not that he'd done anything amazingly wrong, but I just couldn't take that chance. And it seemed the right time to get him out, having actually at this point now knowing that he won the game for us.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
We are going to transition on to the locker room.
How does it feel to score twice at home? I know you're an emotional guy. I see it all the time on the field. So how does it feel to get 2 goals?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to God, to my wife, my parents, you know. I think was very difficult moment this season for me, you know. And my wife, my parents always sat with me, behind me, support me. And, you know, I'm very proud of me that I didn't lose my head, you know, in circumstances and then I had. But, yeah, now today was a good night for me, good night for the team. And the important is then we win and then we are good here at home and we win again and now we have a good challenge the next game against Chicago. Sorry, man.
Go ahead, Nick.
Then we'll go to Julian. Congrats on the win. Congrats on your 2 goals. You know, starting out of the season, I asked Gary this. You had a lower body injury. Ended up starting to get a few minutes here and there. Ended up starting as the season was progressing. People on the internet international duty. You're getting more time. How vital was this performance for you tonight going on to the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think after the injury was difficult too, to get reading again. People think when you get back after the injury, then you can start playing. It's not like this. You need to get some reading, and I think these 3 games before, give me like good confidence, good reading, and now I'm trying to be 100%. And today I think I did it well, but I think I need to keep improve and to keep working hard.
Go ahead, Julian.
What is it about playing at home that brings the best out of this team?
So,
Playing at home, being good at home.
yeah, we are good. From the beginning, when we play the first game here at home, we are making this stadium very strong. I think the teams that come here always know that it's gonna be difficult for them, and this is good for us. We need to keep doing like this.
Go ahead, Blair. So we've seen you in this new formation. We've seen you play in the 8 position. We've seen you play behind the strikers, and we've seen you play up top. Where do you feel the most comfortable on the pitch in all those 3 positions that you play?
Yeah, Gary likes sometimes to play, a little bit more defense. So sometimes we play like, he want to play like 3 in the middle. So sometimes he put me there in the right. But like today, I play more like a little bit forward, like as a 10, but not always to try to defend like so much. So I think I feel very good there. But I always try to do my best in every position that Gary put me.
Alrighty. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So you talked about confidence just a little bit ago, but you play very well with Hane, and it's been documented in the past seasons. Where do you find that confidence playing with him, especially like what he mentioned with players being on international duty?
Yeah, I think, play with Hani is easy, I think Hani is a very good player. For me, he's the best player in the team. This is why he's always there for top score and everything. And, it's just to be with him, try to understand him. I always try to support him, and like today, he support me. So it's good, to have this relationship with this kind of player like him.
Any more on the floor before we go to Zoom? We'll go to Drake Hills and then Claudio Villalobos. Go ahead, Drake.
Hey, congratulations, Randall. You've had some strong games scoring goals, obviously in the past couple of years with Nashville, but this is really the biggest performance for you at home. How important was it to be able to have this performance, scoring 2 at home?
Yeah, sometimes when you score goals, maybe you think that it's the best performance, but I think sometimes maybe you don't score, but you play a very good game, defensive and everything, and you do what Gary wants. And yeah, like today, I scored 2 goals, but I'm very conscious that I need to keep working hard and be better always.
You have a follow-up, Drake? Sounds good. Go ahead, Claudio.
See you, boys.
See you, Mr. Honey.
Hey, Randall, pura vida again tonight. After this performance, what are your feelings towards something that I know been in your mind for a long time? The fact that no matter how good you do, you're not called up to be in the national team. And I would love to have this answer for you, also in Spanish for obvious reasons. ¿Cuál es tu sentimiento después de que tienes performance como la de hoy y en tu cabeza está que aunque lo mereces, no soy llamado al equipo nacional?
I think, I always try to do my best on the team, I cannot do anything about the choice of the coach for the national team. I always be available, I always be proud to be there with the national team. But I'm very clear that I'm here in Nashville and I need to do my best, I think God knows the time. So if it's in the future, I will be happy. If it's not now, I will be happy too, I'm here doing my best for the team, and it's just to keep working, I think everything can change in 1 week, 2 weeks. You never know.
All good, Claudio? Alrighty, guys, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
puedes hacer la misma pregunta en español, por favor?
Sí, que pues yo siempre voy a trabajar fuerte. Ahorita estoy en Nashville, me toca trabajar fuerte, seguir trabajando. Siempre voy a estar feliz de ir a la selección. Si en este momento no estoy, pues son decisiones del entrenador y eso hay que respetarlo totalmente y uno tiene que estar de acuerdo, pero por el momento que estoy en el equipo tengo que hacer lo mejor posible. Si en algún momento me tocara ir otra vez, voy a estar siempre feliz. A veces las cosas no salen como uno quiere en la selección, pero son momentos, tratar de estar con un entrenador que en realidad lo valore a uno y como le digo, siempre voy a estar anuente a ir a la selección, voy a seguir trabajando aquí en Nashville como lo he venido haciendo y tratar siempre de mejorar en todo aspecto para ser mejor, tanto aquí y el día de mañana que me toque estar en la selección.
Yeah, nice to get back on track again last weekend against DC. Felt as though the guys were, in a more natural place, a better mental and physical place, I think, after a very, very tough week the week before. It's been an extremely good week here. Weather's been great for us, opportunity to get ourselves back into that groove and look forward to another very challenging week, but a pivotal week leading into Leagues Cup.
Thank you, Coach. We will start on the floor with Valer. And Valer, just keep on going until you're done.
Coach, we saw Teal Bunbury play about 60 or 70 minutes at the weekend. How is he progressing? Is he back to full fitness now?
Yeah, Till's in a very good place. Really the weekend was part of that process of getting him back up to match speed and really not putting his body under too much stress given the time he'd had out, which in the end only added up to a couple of weeks. Till's a very fit guy, looks after himself, so no problems really getting through that type of work. But I think we're on a level playing field now. He's in a good place.
And in terms of Fafa Pico, he obviously exited with Haiti the tournament. Is he back with you guys, and will he be available for the weekend?
Fafa flew straight back. We were very lucky. I think it was Charlotte that he played his last game, and he flew back and was with us the very next day. So he's been in the group. He's prepared with us for the weekend, and he is very much available.
And one last one for Hani Mukhtar got selected again to play in the MLS Skills Challenge. He's obviously an all-star. Just from a skills challenge perspective, did you watch that last year and what he was able to do? And does that mean anything to you, I guess?
I didn't, but I heard about it. Was it the crossbar challenge? And I think it was maybe the final kick that he managed to achieve whatever was needed, and there was a crazy scenes, right? I think it's all part of a very exciting and enjoyable window of time that those guys, the best players selected in the league, go up against what will be a fantastic Arsenal team and enjoy whatever that represents. It's very different, of course, to any league play, but for those guys that are in it, I'm sure it's incredibly enjoyable. Hey!
Thank you, Valer. We'll swing it over to Wes Bowling for Club and Country. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, the top row, as I see it, is an Arsenal row right now with Valer, with your history there, of course, Gary, and with me. So I want to ask about the back line. Obviously, disappointing to be without Walker this weekend due to the red card. How much faith, though, have Lucas and especially Jack instilled via their play this year that when they have to be called on, as they have numerous times this year, that they're going to step up?
Well, Lucas was, I can say, a very, very valuable signing at the point that we made it. Nobody was to know really that we were going to have a couple of issues physically with Walker. He's played so many games. He's been, such a foundational piece for the group back there. But I think more than anything, it was, I think, mentally a challenge for me to maybe see the group not only without Walker in it, having had a fantastic start to the season. It was replacing him with an individual that had come into the group very quickly, and himself was carrying a little bit of a problem when he entered the building. I couldn't give Lucas more credit than I probably already have, which is that he's fitted in phenomenally well on and off the field. He's a courageous lad, he's a very driven lad, and he's also a very good defender. I think he suits us absolutely down to the ground with a lot of the qualities that he has, and he's a fabulous replacement at whatever point we need it. And look, he's also had his own little issues in and out of the group with slight groin problems, but as I look at what we would class as a trio at the moment, and I'm leaving Josh Bauer on the outside of that because of maybe the minutes that he's played, but he's also a guy that has stepped up to the plate when needed and has got, you know, a much more reliable look about him. But that trio of centre-backs, more senior centre-backs, I look at now and say, look, any two of those three that are playing together, we're in good shape.
Just one more for me, and Frank Klopas has earned so much respect over the years with his work in Chicago. What do you see differently from the Chicago group since he has taken over and now had some time as the lead man with the group versus perhaps how they were playing earlier in the season?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a load of difference in terms of how they're playing or the shape of the team. They've always been predominantly a back four group. They've had good attacking players and some fabulous footballers. Jimenez in midfield, absolutely lovely footballer. You know, really like him as a player. Very influential for that team. And then when you look around the group at some of the younger guys, you know, the likes of Gutierrez, who's been a wonderful product of their academy and their group there. Of course, you've got Shaqiri, we're just talking about him, the talent that he has. The big thing is really utilising that. What does the balance of the group look like? And for all coaches, it's okay saying I've got a multitude of riches, which they have. And they are a very good side. They made some great signings. We're both sitting here talking about Shapilko. You know what a good signing he is. Kamara still banging in goals at 38. He's been a wonderful professional in this league. And of course, abroad as well. They've added the big centre-back, Chiho, if I pronounce that right, really like him. They've had young goalkeepers, it seems, coming out of the woodwork there who are of a very high calibre. So they've got a lot going for them. I would say, and I've gone off track a little bit here, I would say that Frank's always been that guy who can reach individuals. He's always been a very decent person to me. Whenever I've spoken to him, he's intelligent, he's thoughtful. And I would imagine, given the amount of years that Frank's been at Chicago now, as somebody to come in and steady the ship, you probably couldn't find anyone any better. He knows the place, he knows the players, he'll earn their trust. And it looks like he's just getting squeezing a little bit more out of the team. And that's a quality in itself.
You know, I think the first time when you go back and play an old team, especially when you're fresh off of, moving teams, whether it be a trade or a free agency or whatever it may be. I think it's always a little bit extra spice. There's always a little bit of extra motivation there. We've played them a number of times already in my Nashville career, and I think we went back there 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and played on an absolutely horrific Soldier Field pitch in the middle of the day. I think it was a terrible 0-0 draw. I've already gotten that out of my system. I think the team has changed a lot. I think the only guy that's still on the team that's there when I was there, I think it's Fabian Herbers. And even then, I could be missing one or two guys, but it's just a very different team. Obviously, I know Frank Klopas pretty well. I know some people still that work in the support staff in the front office. Wonderful people. I think Joe Mansueto is a great owner. I think I've said before, I think he's going to do some great things with that club. So a lot of respect for that organization and looking forward to going back and getting a win, hopefully.
Given your familiarity with Frank, how do you think he's managing the situation? What makes him so well equipped, other than his tenure with the organization, of course, for being the guy that maybe injects some confidence into a group that wasn't really playing with a lot of confidence earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think Frank is a player's coach. I think he's got a way with players that really translates to getting the best out of them. And Frank was never the head coach or even an assistant coach when I was there, but he was a part of the media, and he interacted with us quite a bit. Always had a very good rapport with the players. Always quick to crack a joke and be able to relate to a lot of different players from a lot of different backgrounds. So I think Frank's done a good job. I think he's been able to squeeze some really good results out of that team the last 3 games. They've been on the road. I think they got 6 out of 9 points on the road. And so I know their next 3 games are at home at Soldier Field before we go into this Leagues Cup break. So I know that Frank will have them motivated to want to get a good start to that homestand, because they're not far off the playoffs. And obviously every team in this league up until the last couple of games of the season will believe that they can make the playoffs, and if you make it, you can make some noise. And so I know Frank will have them ready to go.
My last question, assuming that the pitch is better this time and facilitates a little more free-flowing game than it did, I remember that one pretty well in 2021. What's the key for this club to take the awesome home form that you're in and take that on the road in a league where, you know as well as anybody, it can be really tough to be the same team away from home as you are at home? How does this team get over that hump and play the kind of soccer away that it's playing right now at Geoda's Park?
Yeah, I think we need to start the game better. I think we need to start the game on the road with the same energy that we have at home. And it's easier said than done. Geoda's Park and our supporters, they give us an energy that you just can't replicate on the road. But we have to somehow be able to conjure that up and be able to have better starts. Because if I think back to our last 2 road games, both were losses. Both of those games were lost for us in the first half. Against Columbus and against Montreal, we weren't good enough. And we were kind of sleepwalking through the first half, and that's when we got punished. I think we've proven consistently throughout our time in MLS that we're a team, if we can get a lead, if we can start the game brightly, if we can go up 1-0, 2-0, take a lead into halftime, we're a team that's very rarely going to lose. And so I'm convinced that we're going to take the home form that we're in, the great performance we had against DC United, and parlay that into a good performance against Chicago. I know that we're really motivated to continue to push Cincinnati for that first spot in the East. So that's where our motivation is, and I'm certain that we'll be able to have a better start to the game this time around.
Thanks, Dax.
Go ahead, Drake, then we'll go to Valaire.
Yeah, a similar question, Dax, in a different context that Wes just asked. I mean, you guys are going down to the final few games before Leagues Cup, and you guys obviously have big aspirations of not just making it to the playoffs, but you guys are fighting for Supporters Shield, but you guys are fighting for home field advantage in the playoffs. So keeping on pace with that, knowing that you got Philly and Cincinnati, obviously 2 really good teams coming up after this game, how is there an extra sense of urgency given you guys? You mentioned it earlier, haven't been able to get that big win at Chicago yet, although you've had dominance against them at home. Do you guys have a sense of extra urgency to want to stay on pace, knowing the games that are coming up before Leagues Cup?
You know what, Drake? We really don't look past any opponent in MLS. I think once you start to do that, I think that's when you get punched in the mouth, and that's when you start to overlook teams that can really hurt you. And I think Chicago is a team that's always had talent. They've always had quality. They just quite haven't been able to put it all together. I've watched some games with them this year where I'm really impressed with some of the things that they do on the attacking side of the ball. I'm really impressed with tactically, how sound they are, how difficult they are to play against. And so I think they're just lacking a little bit of consistency, and that's why they've struggled a little bit this year. So, of course, look, we know what's on the horizon. Massive games against Philly, massive game against Cincinnati, but quite honestly, I haven't thought about either of those games. That hasn't entered my mind. We don't have any extra sense of urgency because of the games coming up. We have the extra sense of urgency because we want to collect as many points as possible. That's the bottom line.
Go ahead, Valaire.
Hey Dax, if we can get a little more tactical, I guess here, with the change in formation, with this diamond formation, you play such an important role in that lone six for the most part, kind of behind the two midfielders in front of you. From a player's perspective, and specifically your perspective, because you're such an important part of that connection, why has this formation worked really well for y'all?
Oh boy, how long you got, Valer?
All day.
I've always been a big fan and admirer of the diamond. I've always thought that it's a very unique formation, especially in the modern game. And I think it's not played as much now because of the physical requirements that it puts on a lot of players, specifically in the midfield. And so I want to give a lot of love to some guys that play in our midfield that maybe aren't out and out attacking players. They're not out and out defending players. They're not straight up wingers, right? Guys like Randall, guys like Sean Davis, guys like Alex Mawil, guys like Jan and Brian. We have a lot of genuinely good soccer players and good midfield players, but all of us are good in certain roles where we can kind of roam and be free in the middle of the field, right? I think the only guys you would really classify as out and out wide players in our group are guys like Fafa Picault and Jacob Schaffelberg. And so I like the formation because there's a lot of movement in midfield. It's a very, very hard formation to deal with, especially if you want to win the middle of the field. And I'm a firm believer that if you win the middle of the field, if you have a strength down the spine of your team in the core of the game, you're always going to have a good chance to win and to be successful. And so full credit to the coaching staff and to Gary for recognizing that it suited our player personnel. That doesn't mean we play it all the time, as you guys know. I think we're pretty flexible, but I think getting the best out of the players that we have, the Diamond has been a very, very positive shift. As far as for my own personal role, it's a formation that I feel really comfortable in. It's a formation that puts a lot of specificity on the number 6 being kind of the guy who, especially in build-up when we have the ball, is a very clear outlet, right? And if you have one guy who's a very clear outlet in the middle of the field that's able to just keep the ball moving and find attacking players heading towards goal, you're able to get more numbers forward, and you're able to get another striker on the field. So I think it's been a really beneficial change, not only for our team, but for myself as well. I feel almost reinvigorated, with this formation change, and I think it's been really positive for the team, positive for myself, and I'm just looking to continue to keep playing at a level that hopefully keeps our team winning, and it's been really positive. I'm hoping that we can continue in this vein of form that we're in going forward.
Thank you. Great answer. One last question, and on a lighter note, you recently started a podcast, and obviously it's something that I've been able to tune in a few times to, and I'm just curious how that process has been for you. Have you enjoyed that sort of outside of the pitch? I know you did some media stuff a couple of years ago, but
Sure.
How has that been for you so far?
It's been a lot of fun, Valer, honestly. I think my wife is sick of me talking her ear off about soccer, and so I needed an outlet to be able to talk about the game a lot. And I found it in Dan Gargan and Alan Gordon, two absolute characters and legends of MLS. Some guys that I really get along well with, and we have similar senses of humor, similar characters, and we have vastly differing opinions on this beautiful American soccer landscape that we all love so much. And so to start it up, it was something that I had thought about doing for a very long time. I just didn't quite know how to get it going. And there was, I think, a little bit also on my end, a little bit of fear to really, dip my toe into that pond of, putting myself out there more in terms of a media presence while I was still playing. Because there's a balance that you have to strike there, right? I never want to violate the sanctity of the guys in our locker room, and I want to make sure that I'm very balanced and measured in some of the things that I say, right? Because I want to be authentic, and I want people to hear, my opinion as I see it, but also you have to be measured because there are more important things going on, like the camaraderie of the locker room, that mean a lot to me. So there are some things on the pod that I won't touch, that I won't go into, but for the most part, if you guys have listened, I'm an open book. I try my best to be honest, to be authentic, and I think it's a landscape that more players are diving into as they're still playing because it's a cool perspective for fans to hear. So, hopefully people appreciate it. Whether we have 10 listeners or 1 million listeners, I think we just want to have fun with it and see where it goes. So thanks for asking about it, and thanks for listening.